Hey folks, I'm Brendan, and you're watching the Overqualified Henchman. It's the week of May the 4th, so naturally, we're going to be talking Star Wars today. That's right, you can just call me Admiral Akbar, because it's time for another installment of the Star Shipping Manifest. Star Wars is probably my first serious fandom, and there's a whole galaxy of ships out there, so we're going to have to set some parameters to keep this manageable. I'm going to be looking specifically at Luke, Leia, and Han, and then their equivalents in the other films. As much as it would pain 14-year-old me, I'm also going to try to avoid talking too much about the expanded universe, just to keep things accessible. So let's dive right in with Luke and Leia. Obviously, I know they're related, but first off, ask a Supernatural fan if that's ever stopped anyone. And second, remember that fans watching the original movie didn't know that at the time. Imagine it's 1977, you're 14, and Star Wars is the best thing you've ever seen. You spend your whole high school career waiting for an opportunity to give or receive a kiss for good luck. Then, in 1983, you're 20 and you find out that they've been brother and sister this whole time. Brutal! Remember though, that ships can be platonic as well, and I always kind of wish they did more with Luke and Leia as siblings. Next, we've got our canon ship, Turbo Cannon that is, Leia and Han. Honestly, I don't think I need to sell anybody on this pairing. All that bantering, all those playful nicknames, that's the good stuff. That chemistry makes for a ship that almost 40 years later is still a joy to watch on screen. Now, a quick aside as we talk about Luke and Han. After my Civil War video, I had a couple of people ask me if gay ships are always that common or if it's just a Captain America thing. It's not just a Captain America thing. And a big part of that is just supply and demand. Even if you're privileged enough to be well represented on the screen, I think we can all agree that an ice cream shop that only sold vanilla would get pretty boring pretty quickly. So let me put it to you this way. That scene on Hoth where Luke's in trouble, and despite almost certain death, Han gets up on his noble steed, a knight in insulated armor, and rides off to save him anyway. That ship makes the Kessel Run in under 12 parsecs. Yes, parsecs are a measure of distance. He skirted near a black hole to make the route shorter. Don't front. Which brings us to our OT3 ship, Luke, Leia, and Han. All that stuff I said about lack of representation for same-sex pairings pretty much goes double for bi characters and poly relationships. And you can't tell me Han isn't the sort of guy who would hit on twins if he thought he could make it work. Let's talk about The Force Awakens. When we first saw that trailer with Finn wielding the lightsaber, it seemed like he was going to be our new Luke, Poe would be our Han, and Rey would be our Leia. What we actually ended up getting is a lot more interesting than that. It's less of a cover and more of a remix. Finn is actually the one who gets Han's character arc. Han spends A New Hope just trying to get Jabba off his back, and Finn just wants to get away from the First Order. They both try to leave, but end up coming back to save their desert-dwelling friend, which leads into the ship of Finn and Rey. The bit where he asks if she needs to go back to Jakku because she's got a boyfriend, cute boyfriend. On the other hand, Rey's got bigger things on her mind than romance, so it's tough to say if that's one-sided or not. Finn and Poe, on the other hand, well, that's a ship that floats both ways. My absolute favorite scene in The Force Awakens is that escape in the TIE Fighter. And then when they meet up again and Poe tells him to keep the jacket because it looks good on him, at some point the subtext just becomes text. The third ship in that trio would be Rey and Poe, and they don't interact in The Force Awakens, like, at all. I mean, they seem like they'd probably get along. They're both pilots, that's cool. Honestly, the thing they seem to have most in common is that they both think Finn is pretty adorable, which probably explains why their OT3 is so popular. The most common ship name for Finn, Rey, and Poe is Jedi Storm Pilot, and that's about the clunkiest thing I've ever heard. Personally, I prefer the Sisterhood of the Traveling Jacket, but let me know in the comments if you've got a better idea. Now, after all of that, some of you may still be saying, but Star Wars isn't about shipping, it's about lightsaber fights and giant space battles for the fate of the galaxy. Is it though? A New Hope opens with Leia being captured and Luke and Han going to save her, and ends with Han showing up to save Luke. Empire Strikes Back opens with Luke in trouble again and Han going to save him, and then ends with Luke leaving his Jedi training to go save Leia and Han. At the beginning of Return of the Jedi, Leia goes to save Han, then Luke goes to save both of them. And the trilogy ends with Luke going to save Darth Vader from himself. And the thing is, all of those rescues are objectively terrible ideas. In A New Hope, they've got R2-D2 in the Death Star plans. It would make more sense to just take him straight to the rebels. Han needs to pay back Jabba ASAP, but he still goes back to save Luke. Nobody but Han thinks there's any chance of being able to save Luke on Hoth, and Yoda later tells him that if he doesn't finish his Jedi training and instead goes to save his friends, he's gonna doom the whole galaxy. In Return of the Jedi, they put everything on hold to go save Han, who is just not that important to the war effort. And even though Darth Vader is objectively a terrible dude, Luke still goes to the thing that they are trying to blow up so that he can have a heart-to-heart with his dad. None of those rescues are about saving the galaxy. They're about saving your friends and loved ones. This is where The Force Awakens does the remix thing again, because we open with Poe getting captured, but Finn also needs to escape, so they end up saving each other. Towards the end, Rey gets captured, and even though she escapes on her own, the important thing is that Finn goes back for her. You know which movies don't follow that formula? The prequel trilogy. The closest we get is at the end of Attack of the Clones when Anakin and Padme go to save Obi-Wan, but ultimately they're all saved by an army of Jedi and it just becomes part of one larger battle. What the prequel movies do instead is open and close each movie with a lightsaber fight. I'm not saying that's the only problem the prequel trilogy has, but I think that's a big part of it. They made the mistake of thinking that the most important thing in Star Wars is who our heroes are fighting, and not who they're fighting for. That's my take anyway. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments below if you disagree. Remember to use the Force to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, may the Force be with you, and keep on henching. Little bit of a lip bite.